In this period, you created a group that will change Hollywood, American cinema, and cinema forever. By the way, Paul Schrader was here last week with a movie, and he published on the internet a photo of you, Francis, and Paul, and he said about Cannes, together again. This group that we created is what we call the New Hollywood. Did you realize at the time that you guys were changing everything, every rule, that you were proving to the studios that we can be independent and still make movies that we can make money?
Well, to be very honest with you, we weren't really that interested in making money. We were interested in making movies. That was a big difference, because we all love movies. That was the same thing at USC Film School. You couldn't get into the movie business. It just was not possible. Unless you were a relative or you knew somebody and they pushed you in there, you couldn't go to the studios. It was just completely locked out. So none of us really thought we were ever going to make movies. And even our camera instructor, we came in and he said, "How many of you guys want to make films?" Everybody raised their hands up. None of you are going to make films. That's about as far as we're going to get. So if you want to make films, this is a hopeless exercise, and you're going to waste 2 years and forget it. So but the secret was that we all loved movies, and all we really wanted to do was make movies, even if they were just short films at school. And that was a magic time in Hollywood, which is where USC is, where the people who founded Hollywood and founded the studios, they were all retiring, because this was in the mid-60s. And in the 60s, they were all in their mid-70s, their 80s, and they were leaving. And so the studios were bought up by companies like Coca-Cola and Gulf Western and regular corporations. And they said, "Well, what do we do now? We don't know how to make movies." And they said, "Well, let's hire some agents and people that know how to make movies." But basically, they hired a lot of kids. And so where we couldn't get in before, they started hiring people from film schools. Like, they must know what they're doing. Little did they know. So after Phineas Rainbow, Francis wanted to do a little movie, and we outfitted a truck, and he went to we were going to go around the country. He was going to shoot this movie. He had a script, but we didn't have any locations, we didn't have anything. It was like 12 people. It was a very small movie. And so we get in the truck and we drive across country, starting in Great Neck, New York, and going all across the country. And then we'd stop, the art department would go ahead and say, "I found a good location for this scene, let's do that." And so in the end, we ended up in Ogallala, Nebraska, in a warehouse where we were shooting some of the final scenes for the movie. And Francis said, "Well, what are you going to do after we finish this?" I said, "Well, I'm going to go to San Francisco. I'm going back to where I came from, and I'm going to make Kenyan Sino kind of movies, non-story movies." And he said, "Well, stick with me, write a script for the movie you want to do, and I'll try to get it made." I said, "Okay." Little did I know that I was getting paid what they gave him for me to write the script in order for me to be the catch-all assistant on the movie. But that's really how I got into it. And then when I went to San Francisco, Francis said, "I'm going to come to San Francisco too. We'll start a company in San Francisco." And so
it's American Zoetrope.
American Zoetrope. And there were a few other film companies and filmers. Phil Kaufman was up there, John Cordy was up there, Saul Zantz was up there. And so, I wasn't completely a void. And we said, we're going to be here, we don't want to go to Los Angeles, we don't want to be part of that. It's just not what we want, so we started making films in San Francisco, and that gave us the freedom to pretty much do whatever we wanted until I actually made THX and it didn't make any money, and then they said, oh, you owe us a lot of money. But I said, well, I thought that was development fund. No, we don't want the movies. We wrote 7 screenplays, and they said, we don't want the screenplays, we don't want the movies, we don't want any of that. We want our money back. So for instance, I was sitting there, oh my God, we don't have that kind of money. And I said, he said, well, there's this movie about Italians. And, you know, they're going to pay me a lot of money to do it, and that'll get us out of Hawk. I said, okay, but what can I do? I mean, he said, look, if you want to make a movie, don't make one of these artsy, sci-fi whatevers. Make a comedy. I dare you to make a comedy. I said, well, I'm only 25 years old, I can do anything. So I started writing American Graffiti.